What's good, brother? You're feeling lonely, alone, unable to connect, unable to find your women, your tribe, your brothers. I feel you. Loneliness is like my second cousin. Experienced it many times in my life, as does everyone. And this video, if you watch to the end, you're going to be grateful for the feeling of loneliness. In fact, I hope that by the end of this video, you will feel a little less lonely. There are two fundamental root primal reasons as to why loneliness should be celebrated and that it is a good thing. Number one, think about it like this. Why does loneliness exist fundamentally? Not why do you feel lonely in particular. Why does the feeling of loneliness exist in humanity? This is a question that nobody asks of all the emotions we feel. We never stop to think, why is it that I feel lonely in the first place? Because we are led to believe our entire lives through late infomercials, commercials, big pharma telling us, are you lonely? Do you feel alone and no one's around? Are you depressed? You may be suffering from being a human being and you need to medicate it. No, not having it. Loneliness exists, my friend, if you think about it for just a minute. Because loneliness, like all emotions, is a motivator. It's a motivator. It's to get us to what? To find connection, to find love, to find our tribe, to find our group of brothers through which we can sustain life, procreate with a woman, and experience bonding and survival. That is why we have loneliness fundamentally, right? So it should be celebrated and appreciated, and we should be grateful for this feeling, because without it, we would die. Without the feeling of loneliness, we would die. We wouldn't make it past infancy. A baby, a child, you, my brother, experience loneliness because if you didn't have that feeling, you would die. Like hunger. If you didn't experience hunger, you would die. If you didn't experience boredom, you would die. If you didn't experience stress, for example, you would die. You would not survive because you wouldn't have a bodily instinctual reaction when there is a threat in your life. And God gave you and I loneliness so that we can look around us and say, where's my woman? Who can I connect with? How can I procreate and have a family? How can I find my tribe of brothers through which we can have each other's back? And the reason you feel lonely fundamentally is because you have not found that in your life yet. And this brings me to the reason number two, why this is so important to have loneliness. It is because the more lonely you feel, brother, the more alone time you will have. And the more alone time you have, the more advantage you have in life, because you have time for what? Introspection, to prioritize things that are important to you. And so that you can ask these really important questions of, why do I feel lonely? How can I use this loneliness to my advantage? And it's the people that are alone, that spend time in introspection, in journaling, in prayer, and meditation, that succeed, because they're not just going with the wind, going with the waves of the ocean, wherever life takes them, reacting to circumstances of their environment. The people that take time to be alone are the most successful because they are deliberate about their lives. But the challenge is, the caveat is, when you take that alone time and that loneliness and you use it to isolate yourself, you use it to do degenerate things like not connect with a woman and find your tribe, but to go to porn for artificial forms of connection, to go to Instagram, social media, to feel connected, as they say. But it's a farce, it's a fallacy, it's a fabrication of what we believe intimacy and connection is, but it is not real connection as God instilled it in us to experience. There are some very important questions that you can ask yourself right now that I want you to consider, journal about, talk to someone if you can. And those questions are, number one, why does loneliness exist? Not why do you experience lonely. We know why you're lonely. It's because you're not connected. Easy. Why does loneliness exist? Because if you can answer that question, you can start to utilize that feeling of loneliness. I don't like this feeling. Use it to your advantage so that you can dominate in life. When you figure that out, it'll become more clear what the path is for you. And you can stop having this feeling of like, oh, I'm lesser than, I'm a piece of garbage because I'm still single, I'm a virgin, or whatever it is. But realize that this is part of life. If you didn't experience loneliness, you would die. You wouldn't be able to have a family. You wouldn't be interested in women. You wouldn't be interested in having children. You wouldn't sustain life. and your entire lineage, your descendants, would be evaporated and raptured from planet Earth. And so we should be grateful. The second question that you can ask yourself right now is, what are you seeking when you have this feeling of loneliness? We're led to believe that the solution to loneliness is romantic relationships for many reasons. I think it's an influence from pop culture, from the media we consume, from porn. We believe that the solution to loneliness is romantic relationships. But there's another aspect, another side of the solution to loneliness that no one talks about. One of the reasons we feel loneliness is so that we can find our tribe, a group of brothers which we can spend time with, that we can protect and be protected by, and that we can grow and learn together from, to be challenged by. When you get a bunch of brothers together, men together, we challenge each other, we compete with one another in a healthy, productive way, and that is how you will succeed. That is why you have this feeling of loneliness, right? So ask yourself, what are you seeking? It's not just romantic partners. And so the feeling of loneliness can be evaporated and resolved not just through romantic relationships, but also through finding friends, mentors, brothers, whoever in your life. And the reason you feel lonely is because you don't have that. You don't have brothers in your life. You need them. You don't need more of this. You don't need more screens. You don't need more Instagram. You don't need more any of it. Video games. You need real brothers, wise brothers, not buddies, not buddies that you're gonna game with late into the night. You need wise brothers that are going to challenge you, that are going to test you, that are going to compete with you to make you stronger, to make you harder and grow. That's what you need. And if you don't feel like you can find that in your life, it's time to prioritize this and make it a top importance and urgency in your life so that you can finally stop feeling lonely. Not because it's bad to be lonely, but because God gave you the feeling of loneliness so that you will connect with people. And if you find yourself going to other behaviors and habits when you feel those feelings of loneliness, it means that you're being led down a path of addiction. You're being led down a path of degeneracy. And that's the third question I want you guys to answer right now. How have you been dealing with these feelings of loneliness? We all experience, guys. I'm not here to judge. If you didn't feel lonely, again, you would die. How have you been dealing with the feeling of loneliness until now? And if you can't identify it, then it's time to have a little self-reflection and identify the moments and times during your day, during your week, that you feel the most susceptible to going to your phone, to going to social media, to going to porn, to going to fantasy land, to alleviate the feelings of being lonely. And it's important to answer this question because more often than not, 9 times out of 10 of all the men that I consult in my professional life with porn addiction, almost everybody does not utilize loneliness to their advantage, but they actually let it hinder them. And it becomes a massive liability in their lives instead of a victory, instead of a compass that will guide them to the right woman and having that family. So your actions, guys, for this video, ask yourself just these 3 questions. Why does loneliness exist? Number 2, what are you seeking through loneliness? And number 3, how have you been dealing with your loneliness until now? Guys, you can experience genuine love and connection in your life. All you have to do is be a little self-aware to understand what you have been doing and how it's not been serving you. You are loved, brother. You are loved. You truly are, more than you know. I hope you feel a little loved today from this video. That's why I make this for you. I will see you in the next video.